Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Black, White, and Red All Over. I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics.
Ryan Seymour, king of Comic Town here in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes! Okay, so I totally failed this past weekend with the re-release of Spider-Man No Way Home. I had intended to go see it, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
I ran into all the other things to do.
Yeah, no, same. Like, everything else kind of lined up to like, prevent it from happening.
Like, I totally had plans to go, and then we had to go to the art store, we had to go do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you saw it, is it in theaters still? Was it just last weekend?
I think it's just last weekend.
Damn
I don't know.
Somebody put that on YouTube. Don't put that on YouTube. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I just want to know. But we've got some good stuff that we read this week. Jumping right into it.
Yes.
Okay, so for our good reads that you should read,
yes,
we've got one that's the same.
Yeah, everything
just
else
one.
Totally different.
Everything else is wild and proud and all that goodness. I need to know about that Survivor Street though.
Okay, all right. Dark Horse Comics. Survival Street number 2.
Let's go.
We got James Asmus, Jim Festante. All right. So, if you take a world similar to the RoboCop world,
okay,
like hyper corporatized, and then you mix in, I don't even know like how to talk about it too well. So, like these Sesame Street characters are stuck in the street in a town that is owned by a corporation that allows citizens to solve their own disputes by dueling. So, yeah. And so...
Wait, so it's Sesame Street set in, like, a RoboCop universe?
Yeah, and they're having to kill to survive.
Oh, my God.
It is way over the top. It is super funny. It's tough because you got with Dark Horse has got Minor Threats coming out at the same time, and that's another really, really good book. This thing is hysterical. Like, if you've ever wanted to see a Muppet shoot somebody,
who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really good. Number 1 and number 2 both, if you hit certain order percentages. As a retailer, they're strip cover returnable, so it's another one where I recommend tracking copies down.
Get it now while the getting's good. Okay, this pains me. Last line, number 1, AfterShock Comics. Ordinarily, we are definitely AfterShock stands, like, without question. This book by Richard Denick, Jose Holder, I did not love. Now, I'm generally not the sort of, like, I don't know, I don't usually, like, look at a cover and if the interior art is not the same, be turned off.
Yeah.
But there's such a different vibe to what we're seeing here versus what is inside. It was like a hard shift.
Yeah.
Like a super hard shift. So this cover... which Andy Clark, right? So Andy Clark, a name without question, mainstay, does some phenomenal things, and this cover has a vibe to it. Like, it's very evocative. Like, you're like, well, what is this? Like, I'm really curious. This dude looks like definite like mashup of Doctor Who's, right?
Yeah.
You got Tennant, you got Smith. Like, if they had a baby with like.
There's a fan fiction.
There is definitely a fan fiction. Okay, like with Captain Jack Harkness, like this, like that. This is this guy. Like, that's what it looks like. And it's kind of, you're like, oh, I can get with that. The interior art is, again, very different. Borderline psychedelic in comparison with it. And the story is a little complicated. I mean, we're in England. There is a strange happening with a death and a train. And then that's, like, unlocked this big mystery.
Yeah.
When I was reading this, immediately I was like, Richard is not a native creative when it comes to comics. And then looking at his bio, is an award-winning writer of TV scripts, books, and comics. But this does technically count as a comic that he might have been writing. But TV scripts, I'm like, that's why this flows differently. Like, you can tell when someone is from another media genre coming into comics, you can kind of tell. I said the same thing about Ta-Nehisi Coates. When he first started writing Black Panther, I was like, I can tell that's not his natural language of creativity. So yeah, there was quite a few things. Like, it's got some interesting twists and turns, but I didn't necessarily love it. Partly because there was just so many clashing things happening at once. The style that the cover sets up is very different from the interior, and then the style of story, obviously not an Americanized storytelling sense. Like, some of the language that they're using is very I don't want to say Cockney, but it's a little it's very specific to where they are in the story. So if you're not accustomed to it, you could have trouble following along. So this one might pull a little bit better when we get to issue 2, 3, maybe even a trade.
Have more of a world.
A little bit more. I think that's what it is. For an issue 1, it didn't quite grab me as I had hoped it would. But I may try for issue 2 just to see if it picks up a little bit. Because sometimes issue 1s are hard, man. Like, to nab somebody.
It's a first date.
Right. Like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I spill my soup and I look like I peed on myself? Because it's like a yellow soup. But I got to try to explain to everyone, I didn't pee on myself, I just spilled my soup.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Not this time. Not this time.
It wasn't there. It wasn't there for me.
Alrighty, this was a weird one for me because I wasn't expecting. The name of it is stupid, in my opinion. For Marvel Comics, All Out Avengers #1.
Mm-hmm.
Landy Leisten and DeMarta is the creative team. And
pretty looking book.
It really is. So we got Greg Land doing the interiors, and it is just nonstop action.
That's awesome.
An alien invasion is taking place from someplace far off in the universe, and they're able to turn people evil. So Captain Marvel has been evilized. I just like miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir. There for
yeah, that's right.
And
take your miraculous like that.
And it's just Avengers fighting bad guys with over the top stakes. So it's just really amazing. They got Blade in there. Like as Wesley Snipes, like this is Wesley Snipes talking. Really, really cool, and it's nonstop action. Like they're in there, they're fighting these aliens. They're way over the top. They're letting Blade just do Blade type activities.
Yes,
an actual like fist fight, right? Thor is fighting Captain Marvel, but like neither is pulling punches. It's really cool. It gives the vibes of when Bendis first put out New Avengers, and everybody was kind of like,
where is this going?
This doesn't have that fear for me. Like, it was just really, really good. It's something that, based on the MCU,
right?
I could see, like, we've got a Captain America. Blade's going to happen in a minute.
True.
Captain Marvel.
You're absolutely right. Like, almost everybody that's showcased here has had some form of representation in the MCU.
Yeah. So it's a team that could be put together. So I'm wondering, like, are they setting up, Phase 5 or something?
What if Season 2?
It's really, really cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And every character in it feels like the right character. Like, it feels like the character. Because, sometimes you get someone, like, trying to write an ensemble and some of them feel off. But no, this is
it.
Yeah. Really, really fun.
Nice. I dig it. Okay. So I went with the new Champion of Shazaam, issue 2, Campbell Shaner. So it's so very interesting to read this. So the vibe, of course, you've got Mary Marvel, who is trying to stake out on her own, become her own person, not necessarily a part of the adopted family that she's been a part of, and suddenly she's chosen to be the wielder of Shazam powers by Billy, her brother, who is now the wizard, right? This one is great because it's very much so more of a slice of life kind of tone, where Mary is trying to balance so many different things while the circumstances of her now being the new designated champion, how that affects stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she's a kid.
Well, it's college age, but still, that's a kid to us. Like,
I'm old enough.
Yeah, like that. You're still a child. You are still. I'm old enough, right? Right. Like, you're in college. You're a baby.
You're a baby.
Okay, you're 12. Like, deal with it. But there's this mystery of her adoptive parents have gone missing, and where that's going to play into things. What I really appreciate about this is the slow build that Campbell is doing with the story of making Mary heroic, but not impervious. She doesn't win all the time. Like, there's like very smart losses because she doesn't understand what's happening, and she's trying her best, and I appreciate that. Like I said, the slice of life tone of it is so very perfect that I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. We're introduced to some different things. I think it's a very different tone than like even Jeff Johns' Shazam run, where yes, magic is very prevalent, but it's grounded. It's not as fantastic. Yeah. So I kind of dug this one. It's a good vibe. If they decide that in the new whatever structure of DC movies, they're like, hey, let's just do one on Mary, I would watch that.
Yeah,
I would watch that show. Oh, that would be a good show.
That would be better. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Saved by the Bell meets The college years.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell, the college years meets Shazam.
Intriguing.
Yeah. Somebody call me, Hollywood. I'm there. Talk to me. Dark Knights of Steel, Tales from the Three Kingdoms. This was adorable.
It was fun. It really was. Because it's this anthology story.
Yeah.
And most of it, I think all of it's what, backstory?
Yeah, all of its backstory. Just kind of building this universe a little bit more, a little bit better, a little bit deeper. I don't know, man. Like I love Dark Knights of Steel without even necessarily knowing like, what is this going to be? Like it was just kind of a very interesting Elseworldish story. And I miss Elseworlds. This would be an amazing tip top. Absolutely tip top.
Just give Tom Taylor, like, here, you're the Elseworlds king.
Do it. Okay? Like he can still write and edit those. I think he should be able to.
Yeah.
But no, this is great stories that they circumvent the tropes of right and wrong in the best ways.
Yeah.
Like, where some of these characters end up, at least as far as we are in the story.
Yeah.
So to kind of see how they got there is beautiful.
Makes it interesting.
It does. Do you have a favorite character of this particular little trilogy here?
Oh, I don't know. Probably Bruce, because he's got two stories.
He's got heavily featured.
He's got a problem because he's just a normal dude,
right?
And he's with the elves.
Yes,
and so he has to try to be something instead of relaxing and just being. And seeing those interactions and this,
that was great. I do have one continuity problem with it, so I'm curious. Like, I'll wait a day or two and I'll ask, Tom Taylor, like, hey, just out of curiosity, how come this didn't do this thing?
Yeah.
Just to, like, because it's a great story, but it's only because I'm so invested in the overall narrative that I'm even questioning, like, this outcome. Like, well, how come here? But what happens, man,
I was
tremendous.
I was like, holy crap.
Right?
Thinking I was not understanding something and then get Tom Taylor.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Just to give a shout out for all the folks that worked on this one, because it's not Tom Taylor throughout the whole thing. Like, he wrote the first one. Tom Taylor, Casper Wingard. Hey, Casper! Yay! He did the artwork for that one.
It's gorgeous.
I just met Casper at Raleigh a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So big shout out to him.
This Two-Face rendition,
dude.
Like all of the Two-Face Cobblepot.
Great.
Literally
great. The Flock was written by Jay Kristoff, art by Sean Zaki.
Which is a fun...
That's a good one.
Because, like, in Aladdin, where the princess tries to go into this town because she wants to get to know her people, except it's Kal-El going in.
What a great twist.
And, Harley is hanging out with him because she is a advisor to the court.
Love it. C.S. Picot and Michelle Bendini on Kingsbane. Like, again, great stories.
It's got a manga kind of vibe to,
little bit
to the art for that. And another one with Bruce and
very Dan Mora.
Very Dan Mora-ish.
Yeah. But I totally dig it. Like it a lot. And I implore, like, indie creators, if you guys are watching, and you should be, use this as a model, right? Like, this is a first issue, but it's filled with shorter stories that allow for the entirety of the world to be built. Yep. So if you have a project that you're building, it's your big magnum opus, maybe there's some places that you can tell smaller, shorter stories collected in one single issue like this that will expand your world just a little bit more. Give people a little bit more story. Yeah. Fall in love with your work.
Yeah. Building blocks use mortar.
Yes.
Use the mortar.
Mortar. Okay. So we've got two that are the same.
Yes. One
that's different. Hit me with the Vineyard, please.
Yeah. Okay. So it feels like it's been forever since the first issue came out. AfterShock Comics, The Vineyard, #2, Brian Hawkins, Sammy Cavella. Okay. So this is dope. This issue is better than the first one.
You like the first one,
and I really
too,
dug
man.
the first one.
Man.
So this is the story of a family, and I'm angry about something here because I keep reading the dates. The Vineyard Winery established 1990.
That's not that long ago.
Right?
That was like 10 years ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I still had hair. Like, I don't know what happened.
It's a 10-year-old vineyard. Like, what kind of wine can you get out of that?
1986.
14 years ago.
Yeah, I'm
Disrespectful.
just old. Like I poop dust. Apparently, I'm just that old. So this is a story about a family that has a vineyard, and it's been a family business, and they're very protective of it being a family business, precisely because they are hooked up with the actual deity Dionysus, who requires human sacrifices.
Sacrifice to me.
Yeah. And there's some tension in the family because some members aren't all in on this.
Oh.
And we don't know yet, are they going to completely separate from it? How can you? Yeah, so it's beautiful. So
Now
we
you
see
can't break the chain, man.
the son who is enthralled
That
by...
art is great, though.
Yeah. All right. So we got... Jason...
Is that the skin thing that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I've got issues. There's something wrong with these wood nymphs. Like, I conceptually understand.
No. But there's a lack of softness.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah. But yeah, the human sacrifices are just disgusting.
It's brutal.
Like it's them in the service of this Greek god, and yeah, it's got to come falling apart, right? Like, how long can you go on?
You can't.
Killing multiple people a year on your property before somebody figures something out.
Hey, where's my friend? My cousin, my brother.
And what's the backlash if you don't appease this deity?
You give him. Oh God, I don't even want to know.
Right?
Yeah,
because there's these wood nymph creatures walking around, so we know there's a physical manifestation.
Right.
What happens when you don't do what they want? Or do they just be like, you'll have a bad crop this year? No. They're going to be something else.
It's ruthless.
Yeah. And, yeah, I can't wait because someone is going to cross the line, and it's just amazing. Like it's dark. It's got like a supernatural vibe, like the show Supernatural for like some of their pagan based stories.
Like that.
Really, really cool.
That's the one. Okay, I like it. Okay, so keeping up with the supernatural vibe, A Town Called Terror, issue 6. Steve Niles, Simon Kodransky. Literally one of the best looking books to come out in the last year. Like
the art, the color choices, everything.
Friggin' amazing. Okay, so this is the conclusion of this arc. As a conclusion of this arc, some stuff goes down. And I can't tell you what goes down because that would spoil it. But I'm going to show Ryan. And Ryan's reaction will let you know how gangster it is. Right there. Like, that's just, like, that's the middle of the book, by the way. I just want to show you that.
That's an amazing splash page.
That is.
Because that's probably also a page turn.
Oh, yes it is.
Oh, it's moist.
Yes it is.
It's moist.
Like, you can smell it. Like, you can totally
smell
it. The revelations full on as to what has happened, why Dan can leave this town called Terror because he's half human, and that got like so many things that happened. Yep. But then we get like this little epilogue, and this person will have huge relevance because who are they there to save? Yeah. So there's some things that are going to go down in this as a continuing series. It's super dope. This is an action-filled, straight-up fight of supernatural proportions. Some stuff happens, and it's dope. It's amazing. I dug this a lot.
Yeah,
I would watch that movie.
Right? What's not to love? Because you've got your Frankenstein-type monsters. You got all your classic monsters, except they're in a modern time period fighting each other. In
a town that they can't leave because of their monstrousness. Yeah. Conspiracy theory behind it. Chef's kiss. Okay. This is wild.
Yeah. The pacing is so fast.
It is. It's okay. I think this is my thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been saying this. Once in Future, Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, and Tamara Bonvillain. Dan's name recognition has been kicked up so high, right? Like, he's all over the place. World's Finest, he's done Power Ranger stuff. Like, he's all over the place. So I'm feeling like, to account for it, they're doing like a very truncated version of the story. And it almost reads to me like what they've switched to as a model that if this was a web comic and these are the sections that you would get, but they're printing them all in a book form.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if that's what's happened, but that's how it reads in terms of expedience.
Yeah.
It still looks gorgeous.
Yeah. Like the art is insane. The color, it's Tamara. Like, the colors are gorgeous, and the action is just over the top. They've
Freaking
established the world,
Yeah.
the characters that are in there, the power levels, and they're still finding fresh new twists that aren't Shyamalanian.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
they actually make
yeah.
sense, and
No,
you're
they
like,
totally
oh
make
yeah,
sense. Totally makes sense. I was so nervous about her
yeah.
because I was like, no.
And then she's all like, waka.
Check me out.
Yeah, using more of that Arthurian myth. Yeah, right there. That's the plot twist where it was like, where are they going to go with this?
Oh snap!
And then it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. The weaving of myth
Yeah.
and all these different stories, it still astounds me. Like, I get it. It's 29 issues in. I should be amazed at how they're taking classic myth stories and
Yeah.
making them all work. But I am, because it still works
Yeah.
so well. Even when you're looking at, like, contradictory versions of said myths.
Yeah.
And they still work.
So they factor it in.
Genius.
That there is not one specific narrative. There's these other versions. And so it's like this multiverse within a verse. And it just is so... It
Brilliant.
just 100% works.
Absolutely brilliant. I would play with all of these toys.
Yeah.
If these were action figures with, like, 10 points of articulation, I would play with them, like, a lot.
Yeah.
Bath time would be reinstated. You'd be hard pressed to get me out of the tub. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Gran with like her...
Come
like,
on.
You'd have to... They would sell a separate pack with her
just
explosives
the-
and weapons. Yeah, because
You would have to.
there is one fight that's kind of like that the Indiana Jones where like the dude's got his knife or that giant sword,
Right?
and there's
We're not dealing with this.
and then Gran's just like, yeah,
This is how we're dealing with that. Forget you. Forget you on a poop stick. Yeah, this is dope.
yeah, it's super action. It uses a fantasy chassis for it, but it is just amazing.
Super fun. Super fun. Yeah, I hope that this one gets an animated treatment that does
Oh, yeah.
allow for it to breathe a bit more.
Yeah.
That would be my hope. That the rush for this is so that they don't Game of Thrones themselves. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Ooh, yeah.
All right. So what do you do when you find out you're not the most intelligent, the most accomplished, most skilled Renaissance man on the planet?
And you thought you were. Like,
and
that was your brain.
Yeah, that's you.
That was who
Yeah.
you were. I have never seen a hero get beaten so well.
I love it.
Like, oh, by the way, we're talking about Prodigy, the Icarus Society,
PTW.
issue 3. Mark Miller, Matteo Buffagni. One, this is a beautiful book.
Yeah.
2, my man on the cover here. Let me explain to you the level of that he has. Visually, like, you see this guy, you see what he looks like.
Yeah.
When you find out story-wise why he looks like that, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because it's so badass. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I know you did not.
Yeah.
I know you didn't. Mark spent the entire first series of Prodigy
Building
showing us how dope Edison Crane is.
Edison Crane, he's untouchable.
Like, you can't, like, he's so many steps ahead. Like, in the first series, he knew the chick was going to turn on him because she used the wrong word in Arabic, and based on her resume, she should never have done that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, you're a spy. Like, what? A conversation, she said, this was like on the plane like 6 days ago, and he already was like, oh, yeah, nah, that ain't it. So to beat that guy.
Yeah. There's a secret society, the Icarus Society.
Yeah.
Where it is just nothing but the most intelligent,
Yeah.
most ruthless,
That too.
yeah,
That
most
too.
ruthless people in the world that are hiding in the shadows,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all trying to outsmart each other.
Yes.
And it's this world that Edison was completely unaware of,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's been brought in.
Embroiled into it.
Yeah.
Like, all
But
of it.
not like, come join us, Edison.
No,
like,
no.
you're a pawn.
You are a
You're
monkey.
beneath us.
You are a monkey. And we will send you to go get this fig from the tree right now. That his collection, disrespectful. disrespectful.
It cracks me up because it's like
Disrespectful.
fully
man.
aware of the fact they're like, I've got the tier 2.
Yeah, you're like, wait, what? What did he say? Like it's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay, the scale. Like, first of all, with this one,
I didn't see that coming.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Do you know how bad you got to be to send your chick to work with this guy, knowing that this guy is going to have your chick sleep with this guy, and that's part of your plan?
Yeah.
What? Okay. All right. Dang. And the thing that makes the Icarus Society so scary to me is that it's not about who has the most, it's who does what first.
Yeah.
Like, once it's done, you can never...
Yeah. Like, there's been a first person on Mars.
Yeah.
So we can't go back.
Can't go back to Mars. Like, that doesn't count. Like, that's boring. You can't even say, like, well, who has the most stuff? Well, I can get your stuff.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
We're smart enough. We can get money.
We can get money. That's not the... Like, it's... At a certain point, money doesn't matter. Because we all have that. Like, whatever. Oh, I've got more than you. Do you? Like, give me a minute. Give me a minute and I'll kill you, and therefore I get what's yours. And so now I have more money. Oh, ta-da! See what happens.
You acquire different things. Unique things.
Unique. Super unique.
You try to be the first. For this, they're trying to find Shangri-La.
Yeah. This is
Atlantis.
a modern Indiana Jones.
Yes, because its pacing is nonstop. Cliffhanger, challenge, cliffhanger. And that's what I love most about this. Is the first one was like, here's Edison Crane.
Right.
Here is your hero. And now this entire thing is him versus.
Yeah.
Like, these are the challenges.
Yep. Well, the thing I love about it is that it's not about a superpower at all, right? Like, the superpower is how smart are you. But if everyone is very, very smart, then, like, you have to look at that superpower a little differently.
Yeah.
In the first series, we saw him as the smartest guy.
Yeah.
Like, you can try to plot and plan, but he's the smartest guy.
Yeah.
The way that they're showing him here, it's not that they've dumbed him down. My favorite thing, when he wakes up and he's like, this is where we are. Like, he's still very smart.
Yeah.
Like, don't get that. But the idea of how smart the other people are, when they can tell you, like, oh, he divined it by doing this.
Yeah.
That's how he figured that out. Like, duh, that's how I would have done it. You're like, man, if everyone's that smart,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Which is one of the things I find interesting, because we know Mark is a huge fan of Superman Kal-El.
Yes.
What it feels like he's telling a Superman story in the sense that by taking Superman and putting him in an environment where people are of his level or greater, power-wise, you then he has to rely on his wits, he has to rely on his compassion. We can see in certain sequences that he is a good man.
He is.
So it's telling that story, because if you're in that situation and you are actively choosing to carry additional weight when you're trying to travel from
Come on. You're a good person. Yeah. You're a good person. Do I think, like, he's got a plan with it? Yes.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see what that plan is. But yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, this entire series, like, really, and it's kind of weird to, like, go back and think about the very first arc and how it's like having these grounded people do these interstellar adventures, but it's not that the people themselves are interstellar and that's why they can do this. It's just a regular guy.
Yeah.
The only thing about him is the level of his intelligence is so high that he seems to be able to do things that other people are like, well, that's impossible. He's like, nah, you just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, if you can figure it out, you can do it. I figured it out. So here, like, I'm not that special. Like, I'm special, but I'm not so special that it's not impossible. In fact, ask my daddy how special he thinks I am, and he'll tell you he thinks I'm crap. Like, he gave me my inheritance as a flip of the coin. Like, it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. But Ed is...
yeah. So this is... it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Superman, Indiana Jones.
Superman, Indiana Jones had a baby, and he was just cool.
Yeah.
Like...
This is I want to see this as a series. Like a television series.
I need it. I know there's some stuff in the works. I mean, clearly Mark's stuff has stuff in the works, but, like, I need this to jump the line. I need this to be pushed to the front and make this happen. Please and thank you. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Like, by my birthday, April
Doable.
next year, I think it's possible.
Totally doable.
You know, a couple of shorts, right? Let's just get a scene of what it's like in Edison's mind. We'll call that Christmas. That's all I need. Here it is. Thank you. If you watched this far, we know that you've liked this episode, and we want to see you like this episode by clicking that thumbs up on that button because it tells everybody out there that we're worth watching because we are.
Yeah, and subscribe. We do this every week, so just hit the subscribe and the bell, and then when you go into your phone and say phone, I would like YouTube to notify me.
Every time. Every time there's some new black, white, and red all over because we're here for you.
Yep.
We read the things. And so we want to hear what you've read. So comment below because we want to check that stuff out. We want to see what you're reading because you've seen what we are reading. And it's reciprocal. Okay? We're a community. It's how we do it. Give, take, give, take, give, take. A little bit more. One more time. One more time. Okay. That's good. We'll see you guys next week.